Liam Payne, one of the stars of the former boy band One Direction, has died at the age of 31.
He fell from the third floor in a hotel.
Multiple substances were found in Payne's system. He was behaving erratically.
We need to send someone with urgency because I don't know if the guest's life is in danger because he's in a room with a balcony.
He actually passed out in the lobby of the hotel, looked like convulsing a little bit.
This is not good, and I don't look particularly happy either.
A lot of you guys have been requesting for me to talk about Liam Payne's death in detail. This is such a tragic incident that I'm still in shock that it even happened. You know, I don't typically talk about One Direction on my channel. I did do a podcast about them a couple of weeks ago on Let's Get Into It, but nonetheless, we covered Liam recently because of statements his ex-fiance was making, Maya Henry, which we will touch a little bit on this, but it's scary to see him, you know, one day okay and then the next not okay. And One Direction will never be the same. I actually used to go to their concerts when I was younger. I was a fan. I was like the only boy there, but it's really, really devastating. And I want to start off by saying that, like, even right now I have goosebumps. Just like, it's so uncomfortable, right? It's like part of growing up, like reminds me of like when Michael Jackson passed away, and of course everyone was so upset, but like this was so, and again, that was tragic and sudden, but this was just so brutal, and it seems like every day we're getting more and more details. So I want to kind of talk through them with you guys, but again, in the most respectful way possible. Now, I think we can all agree that maybe Liam wasn't in the best headspace whenever this all went down. I'll get into why I have this understanding. I mean, he did have issues with substances in the past, but Liam passed away outside of a hotel in Buenos Aires, Argentina. This comes after falling from his third floor balcony of the Casa Sur Hotel at only 31 years old. In a 911 call obtained by Reuters, on Thursday, the hotel's reception head can be heard in Spanish calling for medical assistance, a guest who is intoxicated by drugs and alcohol, they claim. At times when Liam had been conscious, they claim that he was breaking the whole room and kind of going into a fit. The operator then confirms the hotel location on the phone, like, yeah, okay, so at the Casa Sur Hotel. And then the staff member adds, we need you to send someone urgently. We don't know if the guest's life is at risk because he has a room with a balcony and we're afraid that he might do something that might put his life at risk, which I think that's like, I just don't quite understand how they got to that point. I mean, what did they see or hear that led to jumping off a balcony is very, you know, it's a difficult choice to make. It's a very, you know, it's dangerous, and I don't know why they would go under the assumption that this guy would go and do that, maybe go and wreck the room before he would go and jump off the balcony. Now, one of the hotel staff said that Liam had been staying there for about 2 or 3 days. Keep in mind that his girlfriend, Kate Cassidy, actually left him in Argentina. She couldn't, we'll get into why, but essentially she left a few days before, so I wonder if they had the same arrangements, and then when she left, he then went into this hotel. Here's a clip of that 911 call translated into English so you guys can see what the hotel staff was saying directly to the police.
Good morning. I'm calling from Hotel Casa Sur Palermo, Costa Rica 6032.
What is happening, sir?
We have a guest drunk on drugs and alcohol. When he's conscious, he's breaking everything in the room.
You said alcohol and drugs.
That's correct. We need to send someone with urgency because I don't know if the guest's life is in danger because he's in a room with a balcony and we were afraid he could do something that threatens his life.
Any other information because you can't get in, right?
No.
We are also notifying Medical Emergency Attention Service.
We are asking you to send someone with urgency because...
We are doing that.
Are you sending police too?
Police from the delegation, let me confirm.
No, only Medical Emergency Attention Service.
Don't worry, because they have already been notified.
Because, as you said, he's under the influence of alcohol and drugs, Medical Emergency Attention Service personnel can't enter alone.
You can ask that to the police, but if Medical Emergency Attention Service needs them, they will notify you.
Now, the police in Argentina said they were called to the hotel where they were notified of an aggressive man who could be under the effects of drugs. Buenos Aires police said that Liam's fall resulted in extremely serious injuries. And he was confirmed unalived at the scene. It literally makes you want to like tear up because it's so brutal to imagine like that kind of fall. Oh, do you guys ever have those dreams at night when you like are falling off something and you wake up and you like literally thought you were falling? Like, oh. The preliminary autopsy report obtained by us reports that Liam had died from internal and external hemorrhages. So I'm assuming that's like kind of like blood clots along this line. Oh, poor guy. I feel so bad. There were also drugs found in a trashed room. So he was clearly not in a good headspace. I wonder if Kate was ever even in this hotel. As you guys can see from some of these photographs, there's a smashed TV. It looks like there's some paraphernalia that's also featured in a tub, including another area in the room where there's a lot of tinfoil and different things and soot and pretty much a bad sign. It looks like someone has been using in there, which is so sad because we saw him struggle with alcohol and drugs, but then get sober and be so proud of it. Now, there are some people who are convinced that maybe this was foul play. The police did put out a statement saying everything indicates that the musician was alone when the fall occurred and was going through some kind of episode due to the substances. City police who surveyed the scene found substances in the room that at first glance and pending confirmation from experts would be narcotics and alcoholic beverages, as well as several destroyed objects and furniture. So he was just kind of like at war with his mind. They also note that when he did fall, he did not get into a reflexive position. So they're saying they don't really believe he was in full consciousness when it happened, because naturally your body would go and like try to protect itself from that type of fall. But again, it just shows to the degree that he really was not himself. This literally makes me want to cry when I saw this statement that he told hotel guests before he went up into his room and this happened that he was so effed up because he was in a boy band with victims like Justin Bieber and so many other celebrities. I do feel really bad for One Direction. And actually in that podcast episode that I mentioned earlier, we talked about how bad their management was to them, isolating them, pitting them against each other. A woman identified as Rebecca claimed to be staying at the Casa Sur Hotel in Buenos Aires. She was one of the last people to see Liam, and he told her, "I used to be in a boy band. That's why I'm so effed up." Rebecca, who works in IT in Washington, D.C. Wow. I used to work in D.C. and work in the government, probably like in the same kind of industry, and was staying at a hotel for a wedding. She actually claims she had a pretty long interaction with Liam. Essentially, he was supposed to be checking out of the hotel and he hadn't. His behavior seemed a little bit off, and one of her friends were due to get his room, so they're kind of waiting on Liam. Everyone was a little bit on edge. She said, "I came into the hotel and he was waiting by the elevator, and it was so clear he wanted someone to recognize him. There was something a little bit desperate about him." Oh, poor guy, because he was just probably so alone feeling. Rebecca said that she and her friends recognized him but weren't bothered by the star's presence. When the lift came, he suddenly said to us without prompting, "Yes, I'm Liam," really drawing it out, and said, "All right, you come on, you lot, get in the elevator with me. I love a cuddle." Rebecca said she decided against hopping in the elevator and opted to wait for the next one, but claimed that some of the other girls got in with him, and halfway up he started saying, "Oh, you're Americans. I live in West Palm Beach. I know Americans. You guys are effing crazy. You guys are effing dangerous." And then he grabs a girl who I think was with him and starts fake choking her only lightly, but the others thought it was really disturbing. Wait, what? Rebecca said that 10 minutes after her initial interaction with Liam, she returned to the lobby where she found the singer hanging out reading on his laptop. She then alleged that Liam may have seen an email which obviously upset him and caused him to freak out. Suddenly, he took the computer and shouted, "F this crap, mate," and started bashing the computer on the ground. It's interesting how much information these witnesses were able to gather by just kind of watching him. Like, how was she there, like, in all these moments? But there are also other witnesses, so it's not just Rebecca's telling.
A hotel guest has described seeing Liam Payne moments before his death.
There was an incident where he was very frustrated and was smashing his laptop in the lobby, and then the final time he came back down, he actually passed out in the lobby of the hotel, looked like convulsing a little bit, and had to be physically like taken back up to his room. And that was about 5 minutes before the eventual incident.
Now, I do wonder how they took him back up into his room, because it makes me think of when I was in Mexico one year for spring break in college. There was some girl that was so trashed at the resort, but the resort people took her back up into her room in a wheelchair, which, okay, it's nice that I guess they help you like get back into your room. But if you're like that drunk, do you really think it's like the best place to go? I mean, again, they're alluding to him being on more than just alcohol. So I think combining the two and then putting someone alone in that space, he probably was going back down to the lobby because his body was trying to tell him to like go around people, like seek help, but he just felt so lost. There have been reports that in reaction to receiving a mystery email. Sources say they have no idea what the message could have been that led to him to explode. The final time he came down, he actually passed out in the lobby. It looked like he was convulsing. Ugh. If Liam was convulsing, why didn't the hotel call the ambulance immediately? The source said. Rebecca goes on to share that Liam's behavior was just kind of out of place, and the staff really never had any experience with this before, so everyone was just concerned, but not really acting upon it. He then goes on to say that I used to be in a boy band, that's why I'm so effed up. She says, I couldn't believe he'd just come out and said something like that. There was a lot more swearing, and he took the laptop over and then got back in the lift. Rebecca said then a former One Direction singer's entourage member approached about Liam's alleged outburst. So who was he hanging out with? I thought he was like completely alone. After he had gone, the British guy from his entourage, who I think was called Roger, came over and apologized on his behalf, saying, I'm sorry, he just gets so high sometimes. Liam returned to the hotel lobby minutes later, alarming hotel staffers. The staff was freaking out and watching him nervously. He walked in again and just tripped over and fell flat on his face, sprawling across the floor. The staff came to help him and get him back into the elevator. She goes on to say that you could just see the arm of the English guy who was with him holding the lift door open before taking them up to the third floor again. It wasn't long after that when police arrived, and initially we thought that they were going to kick him out, but when staff started running around like crazy, we realized the seriousness of what happened. Some of my friends had seen him falling. It was awful. At first they thought he might have just injured himself, but then when we saw the body out in the courtyard and they later brought him in on a stretcher, it was also horrible. Oh gosh, that's so traumatizing. Rebecca said that she and her friends actually got away from the hotel that night just because it was too traumatizing. She also noted that there were a ton of people who came out to the streets to sing and to cry, and it just became a big scene over there, so I feel like I would probably be overwhelmed as well. Now, there are more witnesses than just Rebecca and her friends. Another hotel guest recalled hearing a really loud, violent scream before news of Liam's death broke. One of the guests recalled hearing a lot of noise at the hotel, which sounded like heavy lifting or banging. They said, I thought it was construction. I thought they were maybe possibly working on a room. But it seems like in reality, this may have been like the destructive phase that Liam was going through before this incident happened. Now remember, Kate Cassidy, his girlfriend, actually left Argentina. And again, I don't think it's her fault to like stay around there, especially if he started to relapse and she couldn't get control of the situation. We just don't know the details, you know? Kate Cassidy, a social media influencer based in Miami, posted a video chronicling her journey back to the States from Buenos Aires 2 days before Liam fell to his death. Cassidy starts the clip by saying that she's leaving the country because she doesn't like sticking around in one place too long. They were supposed to go there for 5 days, but they were there for about 2 weeks and she wanted to get home, which I get it. I don't like to be away from home for too long. The video gives fans an inside look at her trip back to the US, featuring the meal that she ate and a quick overview of the flight. She actually, I believe, sat in 1D, her seat, like kind of like One Direction. Now, I don't think Kate had any idea that leaving him back in Argentina would lead to this kind of incident. I mean, I don't think she would have left him if she knew. I don't think anyone really saw this coming.
TMZ broke the news and they posted photos of his body sprawled out on the concrete floor with only his arm and his torso showing. Fans recognize his tattoos. This is the distance that he fell from the balcony. I will not be showing those photos. This is the tent they eventually covered his body with. It's reported right when police showed up, they knew they could not save him. He was dead. It's so chilling and eerie to see that he was posting on his Snapchat story 30 minutes before he died with his girlfriend, Kate Cassidy. He was posting a lot right before. They've since all been taken down, but it's so eerie to see someone in their final moments.
It was confusing to see his Snapchat posting live, but again, we know that Kate left 2 days prior, so these were clearly pre-filmed and someone was running his account. I know like Khloe Kardashian doesn't run her Snapchat. She has someone full-time doing it. Now, there is a report that Liam was dropped by his music label just days before his drug-induced episode. Now, being dropped from a record label is like the scariest thing for a musician who's already been established. This article writes that Liam suffered a huge blow just days before his tragic death. He was dropped by his record label, Universal Music. He originally signed to Sony as part of One Direction, but then when he launched his solo career, he went on to Universal. Liam was said to be thrilled when he signed to Capitol in what was understood to be a very lucrative deal. Meanwhile, it could also be revealed that Liam's PR press resigned earlier this month, which left him without any publicity representation. So his record label and his PR team let him go. The resignation came after Liam's ex-fiancée Maya began legal proceedings against the singer after accusing him of repeatedly contacting her. One source said it's like all Liam's music career he had built up since he went solo 8 years ago was crumbling. There was very little left for him.
And they're saying this was a result of him being bullied and his mental health issues that he's been very open about for years. I've seen so many long posts slandering him, making fun of comments he said, things he does on his Snapchat, concerts, but I don't care what you say, no one ever deserves this. But what I really think confirms that this was on purpose to unalive himself is that his ex, Maya Henry, she put out a book about him this past year, and she was warned by his team to not put out this book about him. He's not doing very well right now, and if something happened to him, this could be seen like it was your fault. I, of course, don't think it was Maya's fault, but she said in interviews that she was trying to get him help. He would tell her all the time that he's not going to be here for much longer, he can't live with himself. But this just shows that for years his mental health was terrible, and he was struggling with the idea of staying here or not.
Because he would always message me ever since we broke up, like, oh, I'm not well. He would always play with death and be like, well, I'm going to die. I'm not doing well. Like, for example, when I announced my book, this isn't a good time for him. I don't think you should put the book out. You know, he's not doing well. And if something happens to him, not only are you going to blame yourself, but the whole world's going to blame you.
Now, what's really sad about this story in particular is that there are so many open questions and a lot of people who are just talking a bunch. I guess a source close to Liam went to the press and said that he did not take his own life and he could have been saved. You know what? I want to pause on this for a second. Who's Roger? Comment below, guys. Like, this actually reporting that we just talked about a little bit ago with Rebecca talking about this Roger guy who's like going up with Liam, helping Liam get back to the 3rd floor. One of his friends who's apologizing for him. Who is this guy? Because nobody's talking about him. The source said if they had called the ambulance when he collapsed in the hotel lobby instead of taking him back to his room and leaving him there alone in a psychotic state, he would still be with us. Again, I don't know who you would blame for that. Like, would it be Roger? Would it be the hotel? The source also revealed that Liam had been reworking his favorite One Direction track, Fireproof, on his computer just hours before he passed. He was in Argentina to renew his US visa and had passed medical and psychological tests days before, which proved he was totally clean. He was in good spirits and had been planning to fly back home with his girlfriend Kate Cassidy to Miami on Friday. His final meal was his favorite chocolate chip cookie. Oh my gosh, this is so sad. This is so cryptic. Also, who's his source? Would this be considered Roger because he's the only person that was with him? Police found drugs in his room, including crystal, a potential hallucinogenic. The source said, where did Liam get these things when he had no money? I wasn't under the assumption that he did not have any money. I mean, we know that his record label may have let him go because when an artist is first signed, they're usually given a really big check in advance and they're supposed to make back that advance and then make more together. But sometimes artists don't make back that money. And I did read one report that said that he did not make back that money, which is part of the reason why the record label let him go. But I don't think it means he was broke by any means. Multiple police sources said that investigators believe that someone in the hotel supplied him with these. These are unconfirmed reports, and the hotel has been conducting an internal probe and fired at least one employee. Interesting. It looks like the investigation is still ongoing, but there will be charges brought against those who supplied the drugs. So at least they're going after the people so it doesn't happen again. It looks like he arrived in Argentina to go and renew his US visa. And at this time, he also got to go and see his friend, former band member Niall Horan, perform. While Liam was in Argentina, he went to the US embassy to go get that visa. But when he did this, officials Googled him and discovered he had spent multiple stints in rehab for drugs and alcohol. They ordered him to do medical tests, see a doctor, do blood work, x-rays, see a psychiatrist, and that was all done in the first week. Liam thought the trip would only last a few days, but because of all of these tests, he ended up having to extend the trip and getting stuck there. After spending the last weekend at the Polo Farm outside Buenos Aires, his girlfriend flew back to Miami on Monday to care for the couple's dog while Liam checked into Casa Sur. He had no money and his credit cards weren't working, so he was spending all of his time in the room. On Tuesday, he asked for McDonald's. He was happy and in good spirits. Okay, who's the person who's responding to the McDonald's, who's like taking care of him? Who is this person? There's a good reason why the Daily Mail is not revealing their source, because the source doesn't want to be tied into this. The test results all came back totally clean on Tuesday and he had an appointment at the embassy. A source goes on to say that a family friend visited him around 10 a.m. that morning to deliver his chocolate chip cookies from a bakery. He seemed a little bit tipsy, like he had been drinking, but wasn't in a bad state. He was happy. they say. Also, who's the family friend who's in Argentina? Is it Roger? Liam and his friend had coffee before the friend left. Then Liam ordered whiskey and champagne from the hotel bar before returning to his room. Around 11 a.m., police said that 2 SEX workers visited him in his room but left at 3 p.m. And it looks like this is because he could not pay them cash. What the hell is this story? Witnesses say that Liam was arguing in the lobby with these women.
Liam Payne was seen arguing with a woman about money in the lobby of his hotel just hours before he died. According to a guest, Liam kept repeating, "I'll give you $20,000 just because I can. I have $55 million and I like to help people." Witnesses also say he received an email that caused him to fly into a rage and smash his laptop, but it's currently unknown who sent it or what the contents were. Liam allegedly shouted, "F this shit, mate," before bashing the computer on the ground.
Okay, here we go. Roger's brought up again. Around 3 p.m., the hotel called Roger Norris, a friend of Liam's, to report the singer was causing a disturbance. He came to apologize to onlookers, telling everyone that he's a nice guy, I'm going to take him to his room before running to get some errands done. So Roger made it seem like everything was okay, but if he was that sick, why did Roger decide to take him back to his room and leave him there alone? The source said if they were worried that he might jump, why didn't someone go and sit with him? Why was he left alone? Did they treat him differently because he was a celebrity? If he had been a regular person, they would have called an ambulance, but maybe they were worried about a scandal? If Liam was in a psychotic state, he didn't know what he was doing. He could have been trying to leave his room and went to the balcony thinking it was the exit and fell. Oh God, I can't imagine. So devastating. We have so many questions. Who supplied the drugs? Why did they take him back and leave him alone in his room? Roger. That was a stupid and reckless decision, leaving a person having a psychotic breakdown alone in a room with an open balcony. Now, what's really unfortunate is that these sources say that Liam was in such a good place prior to this incident. And while he had issues with drugs in the past, he was open about being clean, celebrating his 100 days clean. But despite him getting his substances under control, there's something within Liam that is just unsettled, or was unsettled. I mean, looking back, I think we can all see in hindsight now there are some red flags. And while these sources say, yeah, he was in a good place, he was doing well, I think there's something in his past. Again, this is an opinion, so don't come for me. But like something from his past, probably the stardom, however he was raised, that has left him with this this inability to cope with certain things. And it just seems like he always was really on the downer side, just sad.
But this is not good, and I don't look particularly happy either. This looks like a very lost boy. Lost in space, let's call this one. And we will give this one a 4 because I look like I could be like trying to rob a granny.
Now, there are some people who are trying to connect Diddy to Liam Payne, and I don't think that this is the time or place, but I understand it with like Diddy coming down and all these celebrities being connected. People are questioning like, oh, did he have anything to do with this? Especially because there's an old clip where Liam talks about Diddy and says that he was like fearful. Also with his interaction with Jay-Z, which are 2 guys that we are covering on the channel. Speaking in 2017 during an interview, he was quoted saying, "I went over to speak to him, Diddy and Jay-Z, and I shook his hand. He just chuckled, the most evil laugh that I had ever heard. So I'm a little bit fearful of that man." Liam later explained that he felt nervous approaching Diddy at the party because he was also standing next to the Oscar-winning actor Leonardo DiCaprio. He said it was the most daunting celebrity experience you could ever imagine. "I thought P. Diddy was a safe bet. Obviously, I missed the mark a little bit."
I shook his hand and he just was, "Oh, nice to meet you." And he's going, the longest handshake ever. The worst that happened, there was a whole thing with Jay-Z and I went to lean in to speak to him, but you can't lean in to speak to Jay-Z. You're not allowed to lean in.
Now, earlier this year, there were rumors of One Direction getting back together for a reunion. But now Harry, Niall, Louis, and Zayn are now here, honoring their former member and probably just trying to heal. I saw that Zayn actually postponed some of his tour. We saw that Louis was out in Malibu with family. They put out a statement, "We're completely devastated by the news of Liam's passing. In time and when everyone's able to, there will be more to say, but for now, we will take some time to grieve and process the loss of our brother, who we loved dearly. The memories we shared with him will be treasured forever. For now, our thoughts are with his family, his friends, and the fans who loved him alongside us. We will miss him terribly. We love you, Liam." So sad. Oh, literally. Do you guys get, not me hitting my mic. Do you guys get goosebumps like that? Like, oh, it makes me so, it just makes me so uncomfortable and sad and just like, oh, this is not the type of stuff we want to see. But I feel like every day there's more and more information about his death, and I think I really just want him to rest in peace. But if there's a case or a place where there should be justice, or you know, or at least a learning lesson for record labels and PR agencies. Like, you don't just leave these people out in the dust when they're in a low point. That's scary to imagine, having a team who would just throw you under the bus that way, and then, you know, not really set up for success. But a really sad story. I want to hear what you guys are thinking in the comments below, and rest in peace to him. So we're sending good vibes from this channel, and I know you guys are too. I know you guys are. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye, guys.